Listen carefully. There are people you've seen, maybe not closely, maybe only from a distance, but something about them stands out. Life hits them, just like it hits everyone else. They face pressure, disrespect, uncertainty, loss. Yet somehow they don't collapse under it. They don't react the way most people do. They don't get pulled into every emotional storm. At first it looks like they're just lucky, like life is easier for them. But if you observe long enough, you start to realize something deeper. It's not their life that's different. It's their mind. They've trammed it. And because of that, they move through the same chaos without being consumed by it. Now look at your own life for a moment. How easily does your mood change? One message and suddenly your energy drops. One comment and your confidence takes a hit. One unexpected problem and your whole day feels off. That means something important. It means your mind is not fully yours yet, because anything that can shift you that quickly is controlling you. And in a world where distractions are constant, where people react without thinking, where emotions run unchecked, the one person who learns to control their mind gains an advantage that is impossible to ignore, not over others, but over themselves. And that changes everything, because once you control yourself, very little outside of you has the power to shake you. But this kind of control doesn't come from motivation. It doesn't come from watching one video and feeling inspired for a few hours. It comes from understanding something most people overlook completely. There is a space, a small, almost invisible gap between what happens and how you respond to it. Most people never notice it. Something happens and they react instantly. No pause, no awareness, no choice, just reaction. And then later, regret. They say things they didn't mean. They feel emotions they don't understand. They make decisions they wouldn't make if they had just waited a moment. That moment is everything, because inside that moment there is freedom. Freedom to choose, freedom to stay silent instead of reacting, freedom to think clearly instead of emotionally, freedom to act in a way that actually aligns with who you want to be. But if your mind is untrained, that moment disappears before you even realize it existed. So the first shift is simple. Not easy, but simple. Slow down. Not your life, your reaction. The next time something triggers you, don't rush. Feel it. Notice it. Watch what's happening inside you. The tension, the impulse, the urge to respond immediately. And instead of acting on it, just observe it, even for a second. Because in that second something changes. You are no longer inside the reaction. You are watching it. And once you can watch it, you can choose. That's where control begins. Not by forcing yourself to feel nothing, but by deciding what to do with what you feel. And as you practice this, you'll start to notice something else. Most of what disturbs you isn't actually what happened. It's what you think it means. Someone doesn't respond to you. That's the event. But your mind doesn't stop there. It adds meaning. They're ignoring me. They don't respect me. I did something wrong. Now your mood changes, not because of reality, but because of the story you created about it. And this happens all the time. A small situation becomes heavy because of the meaning attached to it. A neutral moment becomes emotional because of the interpretation. And the problem is, it happens so fast. It feels real, but it's not. It's constructed. And once you begin to separate these two things, everything becomes lighter. What actually happened and what you made it mean. Keep them separate, always, because the moment you stop blindly believing every interpretation your mind produces, you take back control. You start to question, is this true, or is this just my assumption? Is this fact, or is this fear? And in that questioning, your emotional weight begins to shift. Situations stop feeling so personal. You stop reacting to every little thing. You become more stable, not because life changed, but because your perception did. Now understand this clearly. You are not trying to remove emotions. That's not the goal. Emotions are natural. They will come. Anger will come. Frustration will come. Pain will come. The real question is, what will you do with them? Because emotion is energy, and energy can either control you or be used by you. Think about anger. Uncontrolled, it destroys. It makes you say things you regret. It damages relationships. It weakens your clarity. But controlled, that same anger becomes fuel. It pushes you to improve. It sharpens your focus. It drives you to take action. Same energy, different direction. So the next time you feel something intense, don't rush to express it. And don't suppress it either. Use it. Pause and ask yourself one question. Where can I direct this? Turn frustration into effort. Turn pain into growth. Turn rejection into discipline. Because once you learn to redirect emotion instead of being ruled by it, nothing inside you becomes a weakness. Everything becomes a resource. And that is where real strength begins. But there is another trap that quietly drains your energy every day. Your mind, leaving the present. You think about things that haven't happened yet. You imagine problems that don't exist. You replay past conversations over and over again. And your body reacts as if all of it is real. Your heart rate changes. Your mood shifts. Your focus disappears. All because of something that isn't even happening. That's not thinking. That's losing control of your attention. And the only way out is to return back to what is actually real. Right now, your breath, your surroundings, this moment. Because in most moments there is no real danger, only imagined ones. And the more time you spend in those imagined scenarios, the weaker your control becomes. So bring your attention back, again and again. Not perfectly, just consistently. Because attention is power. Where you place it shapes your experience. If you place it on fear, fear grows. If you place it on control, clarity grows. And over time, this practice changes how your mind operates. You stop getting lost so easily. You stop reacting to thoughts as if they are facts. You start observing them, like watching something pass by without needing to follow it, and that creates space. And space creates control. But there is one more thing that keeps most people unstable. The need for approval. The need to be liked, to be validated, to be accepted. And because of that, your mood becomes dependent on others. Someone praises you, you feel good. Someone criticizes you, you feel bad. Someone ignores you, you feel uncertain. That means your state is not yours. It belongs to whoever is reacting to you. And that is a dangerous place to live, because people are unpredictable. Their opinions change. Their moods shift. Their attention comes and goes. If you depend on that, you will never feel stable. So the shift is simple. Stop measuring yourself by how others respond to you. Start measuring yourself by how you respond to life. Your discipline, your actions, your consistency, your ability to stay grounded when it would be easier not to. That becomes your standard. And once that happens, something settles inside you. You don't need constant approval. You don't get shaken by every opinion. You become steady, because your foundation is internal, not external. And from that place, your entire perspective begins to expand. What once felt urgent starts to feel temporary. What once felt overwhelming starts to feel manageable. You begin to see how quickly most problems pass, how little most things actually matter in the long run, and that awareness changes your reactions. You stop giving extreme reactions to small situations. You stop wasting energy on things that don't deserve it. You become selective, intentional, calm. And that calm is not weakness. It is control. The kind of control that most people never develop, because they never stop long enough to see what's really happening inside them. But you are starting to see it. You are starting to notice the patterns, the reactions, the thoughts, the habits that used to run automatically. And once you see them, you can't go back to being unaware. Now the choice becomes yours. Continue reacting the same way or begin taking control, because this is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming aware, again and again, in every moment that challenges you, in every situation that tests you. You return to that space. You observe. You choose. And slowly, you change. You become someone who doesn't get pulled into everything. Someone who doesn't break under pressure. Someone who doesn't lose themselves in chaos. And that transformation doesn't happen in one moment. It happens through repetition, through practice, through awareness applied daily. So stay with it, because the more you train your mind, the less the world can control it. And the less the world controls it, the more powerful you become. Not over others, but over yourself. And that is the highest level of control you can ever reach. And as you continue walking this path, something subtle begins to happen. You stop rushing, not in your actions, but in your mind. Before, everything felt urgent. Every situation demanded an immediate reaction. Every emotion felt like it needed to be expressed right away. But now, there is space. You notice the impulse, but you don't follow it instantly. You feel the emotion, but you don't let it take control. You think the thought, but you don't automatically believe it. That space grows with practice, and inside that space something powerful develops. Patience. Not the kind of patience that waits passively, but the kind that allows clarity to form before action. Because when you stop reacting immediately, you start seeing more. You see the full situation instead of just a small part of it. You understand people better instead of judging them quickly. You recognize your own patterns instead of repeating them unconsciously, and that awareness changes how you move through life. Situations that once triggered you now feel manageable. People who once disturbed you now seem easier to understand. Moments that once overwhelmed you now pass without taking your peace. Not because they changed, but because you did. But don't misunderstand this. There will still be moments when you slip. Moments when the reaction comes before awareness. Moments when emotion takes over. Moments when you realize too late that you lost control. That will happen. And when it does, most people fall into another trap. They judge themselves. They feel like they failed. They think all their progress is gone. But that's just another reaction, another pattern, another moment where awareness is needed. Because the goal was never perfection. The goal is return. How quickly can you come back? How fast can you recognize what happened without blaming yourself? How calmly can you step back into awareness instead of staying stuck in reaction? That is real progress, because every time you return, you strengthen the habit. Every time you notice, you build control. Every time you choose differently, you reshape your mind. And over time, those returns become faster. The awareness comes sooner. The reactions become weaker. Until one day, what used to control you no longer has the same power. And that's when something deeper begins to settle inside you. A quiet confidence. Not loud, not something you need to show, but something you feel. You trust yourself. Not because everything goes your way, but because you know you can handle it when it doesn't. You know you won't collapse. You know you won't lose control completely. You know you can pause, think, and respond. And that trust changes everything. Because fear begins to lose its grip. You start taking actions you once avoided. You start speaking when you once stayed silent. You start moving forward, even when things are uncertain. Not because the uncertainty disappeared, but because your ability to face it improved. And as that happens, your relationship with difficulty changes. Before, you tried to avoid discomfort. You tried to escape pressure. You tried to stay in situations that felt easy and predictable. But now, you see something different. You start to understand that difficulty is not against you. It is shaping you. Every challenge shows you where you are still reactive. Every uncomfortable moment reveals where your awareness needs to grow. Every setback forces you to strengthen something inside you, and instead of resisting that, you begin to use it. You allow pressure to build discipline. You allow frustration to sharpen focus. You allow obstacles to train your patience. Because now you understand something most people never fully accept. Growth does not happen in comfort. It happens in resistance. And the more willing you are to face that resistance, the stronger you become. Not just physically, not just mentally, but internally, in a way that doesn't break easily. And this strength is different. It's not aggressive. It's not loud. It doesn't need to prove itself. It is steady, calm, controlled. It shows up in how you handle situations, in how you speak, in how you think, in how you carry yourself when things don't go your way. And people notice it, even if they don't say it, because most people are used to reacting. They are used to being pulled by emotions. They are used to losing control under pressure. So when they see someone who doesn't, it stands out. But this is not about impressing others. This is about becoming someone who is not easily shaken. Someone who does not depend on perfect conditions to stay steady. Someone who can remain grounded, even when everything around them is not. And as you continue to build this, something else becomes clear. You don't need to control everything. In fact, trying to control everything is what used to exhaust you. Trying to control outcomes, trying to control people, trying to control how everything turns out. But life doesn't work that way, and the more you try to force it, the more resistance you feel. So you begin to shift your focus from controlling everything to controlling yourself, your actions, your thoughts, your responses. And once you do that, something unexpected happens. Life feels lighter, because you are no longer fighting what you cannot change. You are working with what you can, and that removes a huge amount of unnecessary tension. You stop overthinking every possible outcome. You stop stressing over things outside your control. You stop wasting energy on situations you can't influence. And instead, you act where it matters. You focus where it counts. You move forward without carrying extra weight. And that clarity makes you more effective. Because your energy is no longer scattered, it is directed. And when your energy is directed, your actions become stronger, more precise, more consistent. You finish what you start. You follow through. You build momentum, and momentum creates confidence. Not empty confidence, but real confidence, the kind that comes from action, the kind that builds over time, the kind that doesn't disappear when things get difficult. And as this continues, your mind becomes quieter, not empty, but clear. The constant noise starts to fade. The need to react to everything disappears. The urge to prove something to everyone weakens. And in that quiet, you begin to think differently, more clearly, more deeply, more intentionally. You see situations for what they are, not what your emotions make them. You respond based on understanding, not impulse, and that changes your entire experience of life. You are still in the same world, facing the same challenges, dealing with the same people, but everything feels different. Because you are different, you are no longer easily controlled, not by emotions, not by thoughts, not by external events. You are present, aware, steady, and from that place you begin to live differently. You act with intention. You speak with clarity. You move with purpose. Not rushed, not reactive, but deliberate. And that is rare, because most people never reach this point. They stay trapped in cycles of reaction, repeating the same patterns, feeling the same frustrations, living the same struggles, not because life forces them to, but because they never learn to step back and observe. But you are learning that now. You are building that awareness, and with it comes freedom. Freedom from automatic reactions, freedom from unnecessary stress, freedom from being controlled by everything around you. And once you experience that freedom, even a little, you don't want to go back. Because now you know what's possible. You know what it feels like to be in control, to be calm under pressure, to remain steady in chaos. And that becomes your direction, not perfection, but progress, not control over everything, but control over yourself. And as long as you keep returning to that awareness, as long as you keep practicing that pause, as long as you keep choosing clarity over impulse, you will continue to grow, stronger, calmer, more focused, more in control, and eventually you become someone who doesn't just survive difficult situations. You move through them without losing yourself, and that is where true power lives. Not in avoiding chaos, but in remaining unchanged by it.